Hey, what's up boxers? This is Zach Rosette with Buildbox. In this video, I wanted to show you a gameplay type where you have to complete certain tasks or acquire certain objects to be able to continue through your gameplay and have your character be safe. A great example of this is our template called Ring Wall, where you have to go through rings to be able to make the wall move, or else if you run into the wall, your character will be defeated. I'm going to show you this real quick in a preview, and this is actually a preview of an iPhone X model. A couple customers have been asking to see whether or not we have iPhone X capability, and we do. So this is exactly what it would look like on an iPhone X, and let's take a quick look at it. Okay, so we got this little ball character, and we've got these green little rings, and if you go through the ring in the right way, then the wall opens up. But let's say you don't go through it the right way, the character hits the wall and the character is defeated. So let me go ahead and walk you through this template and show you exactly how it works right now. Alright, so first I'm just going to go over the game mind map. It's super simple. You've got your start scene, which is where you'll want to put your company logo, so as it's loading up, people can see your company. Then you've got your main menu, your world UI, and your game over UI. Now, the world UI is your game buttons and all of your controls for your world. And so let me go ahead and just show you what that looks like right now. For this particular template, it's super simple. It's just a tap to jump, and there's one character button, and it's really easy. You just tap anywhere on the screen, and that makes the character jump a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my mind map and go back to my world, and let's take a more in-depth look at this. Okay, so let's go ahead and start at the beginning. We'll go to our start scene and we'll go ahead and check this one out first. So there's not too much going on in this scene. This is where the character starts. You can see the game frame here. The character hits this little gray bar here, and that is what propels the game forward. And let me go ahead and turn on debug mode so we can take a closer look. So this platform down here at the bottom does not destroy the character, because even though we've got it set to collide with the character, the destroy type says no destroy, but the platform at the top does destroy the character, so when the character collides with it, it's going to defeat the character. Now, there's something else going on here as well, and I'll go ahead and just zoom in here on this. This is one of the obstacles, enemies. This is a decoration. This is something that Danny added, and it has a wake-up distance, so when the character gets close, it's going to fire downwards, and that is that little fireball that you see in the beginning. And let me go ahead and just preview it right now so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you start and you're moving forward, you see that little fireball that goes firing downwards? That is the decoration that I was talking about. So that's a great example. It's a nice little way to spice up your game. I think it's a cool added effect, and you might want to play around with stuff like that too. But let's take a closer look at how these rings are opening up these walls. Okay, so I'm looking at scene 2 right now, and we've got one of our rings here as an example, but I'm going to go to scene 1 where I split up a ring, and I'm going to show you all the little pieces here. So this is the back of the ring, this is the front of the ring. So this, when you layer them together, it looks like a complete ring when you combine them, but it's actually broken up into two halves. And then right at the point, right here where the edges of the ring hit, this is where the character might, try to fall inside of the ring. These are broken down right here at the edges, so if the character comes and he hits this little circle, it's going to kind of bounce and ricochet a little bit, and you really have to nail and go right through the middle and avoid these two circles if you don't want to bounce around or have any problems. So that's kind of how you create that perfect hoop where you have to go in between them. And you can make these smaller or bigger, if you want to scale this up and make it real nice and hard, or if you want to make it nice and easy, then you can have it be a little bit smaller and then move it right over into there, and that's probably a little easier. You might want to be a little bit more forgiving with your players. Okay, now, so you've got the front of the hoop, the back of the hoop, and the sides where you're bouncing in between the hoop. Now, what is this little star? What is going on with this little star? Okay, and so actually this little star, it should be it should have the opacity being 0, so the character can't see, or you can have it as B1 as well, so that so the player can see, oh, there's a little star in there that I have to collect and go through. Okay, so this is the action, this is the trigger that is going to open up the wall. Alright, so once your character moves through the hoop and collects that little action, boom, the walls are going to start splitting up. And so let me show you exactly how that happens. Okay, so the way that this works is you've got these two walls here, and they're layered on top of each other, and that is why you see this like kind of a thicker or more saturated red right here. That's because the collision shapes are stacked right on top of each other, and so that is why it comes in a little bit more thicker there. So the real trick behind this is the action and the object combo, and let me just take a closer look at the objects and the actions here so that you can understand why it's working. So first I'm going to start with the action, because that's where the bulk of this effect is happening. And there's actually something really cool here I'm going to show you as well. So here's the default animation, right? That's the star, that's what you're looking at, okay? But when the action type, and it's set to none, okay, so there's no like special, you know, kill all enemies, coin, or anything like that. There's a lot of cool things you can do with action types, and just setting it to none, or gameplay is another really cool one. But I digress. So action animation, let's click the edit button, take a closer look at this, and you can see here in the animation editor, we've got 3 things going on. Okay, so one, we've got this particle emitter here in the center, and so I'm going to just show you that real fast. Don't want to take up too much time with this, but wait for this pulse. Boom! You see that pulse that just happens right there? So we've got the texture here, this green image, and then Danny created this awesome particle emitter effect that, you know, it pulses once, and so once you go through the ring, it kind of has this really cool effect where it glows, or turns into a lower opacity, it tapers off, and it expands. And so I think it's a really cool effect. That's another thing that you can do with the particle emitters. So you might want to take a closer look at how this is all set up here. So you can see all the settings over here on the right, the total of particles, emission rate, and all that jazz. So you can get an idea of how to accomplish this with your game as well if you want to set something up like this. Now, okay, so that's the particle emitter. Let's take a look at these obstacles. All right, you can see that the opacities turn way down, almost to nothing. It's 0.01, so you can barely see it. I can't really see it at all. Yeah, this one's opacity is down to 0. So it doesn't. You really don't need. You can have it be 0.01 really, really low, or just have it 0. I'm gonna just put it at 0, because you don't really need the players to see it. You don't want the players to see it. So here's what's happening. So as soon as the character or the player collects this action, the particle emitter is triggered. So then you see that pulse in the pulse of the hoop or the ring expanding out. Then you see this obstacle, and it's got a spawner, and it's got a spawn rate of really fast. Looks like 100,000. Okay, so it is going to go firing really fast. Or I'm sorry, 100,000 is how many seconds it takes for the next iteration, or the next spawn, for the next time that this object is going to go flying. Okay, and by that time it's already over, the action's done. So that's why the spawn rate is turned up so high. But the speed at which it moves to the right, okay, because it goes firing off to the right, is set to 120 in the x direction. That's the linear velocity. And so that's the same thing with this one here too. Okay, really long spawn rate, really fast linear velocity, and so it goes firing. But it goes firing at what? Okay, and it goes firing at these walls. And so here's what ends up happening. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the action type here, and we're going to look at the objects, and those 2 walls are labeled spike 1 and spike 2. Okay, and you can see here that the health animation here, or I'm sorry, the health component is set to 1. So it's got a health of 1, and as soon as the bullet or that thing goes firing and hits the wall, it defeats the object, and what it does is it sends the collision shape downwards. Or this one, it looks like spike 2. It's going up. It's going up in the Y direction. Although if you flip it upside down, going up in the Y direction actually takes you down. So it also has to do with your rotation and your orientation. But right now, the way it's set up is if this is set up correctly, which I believe it is, there's no rotation on this, it is going to go upwards in the Y direction with a linear velocity of 20. And same thing with the spawn rate. It's going to go shooting, and it's going to fall down. So the original image right here, the with a health of 1, that's gone, and then the defeated animation kicks in, and it shoots the object downwards, and so the wall opens up, or at least it looks like that. And it's the same thing with spike 2. Okay, it's got same thing, got a health of 1, and then it's got that defeated animation, and let me guess, yep, it's in the -20. So it's going to go downwards, and with a linear velocity of -20. And so it's got a very, very similar setup, and that is how the walls split up. You collect the action, it releases the particle emitter, it sends off those two objects, and they go firing at the wall, they defeat the walls, and then the defeated animation is what makes it open up. And so that is how this whole effect is created. That's the secret behind Ring Wall, and I think it's totally something cool that you can add to your games. I think it's you can get a lot of different ideas with this. You can keep it in portrait mode, but imagine you're moving upwards and you wanted walls to split as you're going up, or maybe your character is going down and you want the walls to split that way. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. I hope you thought that this video was useful. If you want to see more videos like this, then please like this video and subscribe to our channel. All right, thanks everybody.